Hi, I'm Matthew Biancanello, and I'm very excited to be back with Little Italy of Los Angeles to do a holiday cocktail masterclass, okay? So I'm going to show you definitely 3 cocktails today, but the first thing I'm going to show you is actually an amuse-bouche that won't be available for delivery, but it's something that's easy for you guys to make at home, and you really can do it with anything. I love pomegranates, and I'm going to show you really just how to take pomegranate seeds and kind of infuse them with alcohol. It's a little bit of an amuse-bouche. So I learned this from a Moroccan chef that I worked with years ago, and I was always like, how do you take the pomegranate seeds out of it? So the easiest way, I'm going to do it really simply, is you cut it in half, and look at that juice, look how beautiful that is. And then you really just kind of put it over a bowl and you use a spoon, and they just pop right out, which is great, which is awesome, right? So you're not going to worry about any of that pulp. I'm just going to try to get a few out here so I can show you the purpose here. And then the next step to that really is we're going to take some alcohol and we're going to infuse it into it. So what I love about pomegranates is the red, the juiciness. I'm half Greek too, if you didn't know that. So obviously pomegranates is a huge thing about Greece. So what I love to do and what I recommend you guys do at home is you take the alcohol Benedictine, which is an herbal liqueur, and you literally just put it into the bowl and let it sit for about an hour. I happen to make a yuzu, which is another beautiful, it's a Japanese citrus that I use for the holidays. It's definitely winter, late fall. And I'm just put a little bit of Saint Germain in that, and I'm going to infuse that in there. So what I'll do is I literally pour it like that, and we can have obviously a lot more seeds, but my point is to just get that kind of marinated there. You usually let that sit for about an hour or so, hour, 2 hours. And then what you can do when people sit down, before they have a drink, before even, what I love to do is when they're coming in the door, and you're probably going to have another small gathering, but they're coming in the door and you're kind of handing this to them first. So you'll take the pomegranate seeds with the alcohol and you'll just pour that right in there and get the seeds in there, and that's kind of the starter for them. And like I said, this whole thing can just be filled with seeds. So there you go. That's an amuse-bouche. It's basically, this is a yuzu Saint Germain infused into the pomegranate seeds, but you could use Benedictine. You can use Grand Marnier is great. That's probably an easier thing for people to find as well. And that's great. You just let it sit for 1 or 2 hours, and all of a sudden, and I like to taste this. You know, when you eat the seeds, you know they're crunchy. They're beautiful. It's an incredible antioxidant as well. So cheers, happy holidays to you. And that is your amuse-bouche. So the next cocktail that I want to do, and this is a series of 3 cocktails I'm going to show you today, and also the 3 cocktails that will be available for the holidays for you. And I'm actually doing a very, very special price for Little Italy of Los Angeles only. All of my 750 milliliter bottles, which usually serves about 5 or 6 people, are going to be half off. So it's going to be $50 a bottle. It's going to have 5 to 6 servings, and this is one of them included. This is an old fashioned that I'm going to do that is with one of my favorite fruits from the fall, persimmons. So there's 2 major types of persimmons, and persimmons originated in China. And these are called the Hachia persimmons. The Hachia persimmons are the super soft, really sweet persimmons. So for me, especially when you're using cocktails, especially when muddling a cocktail, you need something that's immediate. But I'm going to cut this open for you so you can really see the amazing. First, I have this incredible star inside that I love. This is from a farm called JJ's Lawn Daughter out in Redlands, and they just have the best ones. So what I did is I took this whole jar here. Obviously, one of the greatest ways to have immediate flavor is to infuse something. So really, when you're infusing something, it's not so much about the proportions of things, like cups and things like that. I usually take any glass jar and fill it 3/4 of the way with the ingredients, and then I cover it with alcohol, and usually let it sit for about 7 to 10 days. This is bourbon that we're using, and I actually put in also fresh sage. So this is the sage. There's over 200 varieties of sage, but this is I don't remember the name of the sage, but it's one of the more common sages that you find in the supermarkets and so forth. So I infuse that in that, and now we're just going to make an old-fashioned with that, which is really, really simple. Okay, and the first thing we're going to do is we'll take your cup. So when you build an old-fashioned, you always build it in the cup. It's one of the few cocktails that you do. You don't stir it or shake it and then pour it in. You actually build the whole thing in here. Typically this would have sugar, and I'm going to use this amazing L'Orgeat. It's an almond liqueur that has a great almond flavor, but it's sweetened. So we're going to use that as the sweetener. And I usually put about a quarter of an ounce. Okay. So we'll put that in there. So that's your sugar. And then you use some kind of bitters, whether it's an Angostura bitters, and I happen to have, again, my favorite thing, I might have used this last time, I can't remember, but it's candy caps mushrooms. Candy cap mushrooms were discovered about 20 years ago in Marin County, and when they're dried, they give off this incredible maple syrup and vanilla flavor. So that's in the bitters. I infuse that in there. So we'll do just a bar spoon of that. Put that in there. And then we're going to put the alcohol. So what we're going to do is it's always pretty much 2 ounces. So we'll take 2 ounces. I'm just going to literally, a lot of times too, you don't have to worry so much about the actual fruit over infusing. So I love how pretty that looks. I'm going to keep it in a jar for as long as I can. And I'll just spoon out 2 ounces here. And there you go. So this is a sage and persimmon that's probably been sitting for about 10 days. And persimmons, these persimmons usually come in the season just before Thanksgiving and only last about 3 weeks. That's what's so amazing about certain things like this, is you have such a small window. So what I'm doing is I'm buying up as many persimmons to infuse to make sure that I have them ready for the holidays and ready for you as well. So you have everything in here, and then the most important thing when it comes to doing an old-fashioned in most cocktails is having the right ice. So this is a 2x2 cube. And you actually can buy these, but if you do want them, I can actually provide them for you as well, just a small, additional cost. The purpose of an ice cube like this is it has a very low surface area ratio to alcohol. So the most important thing is you don't want to over dilute a drink, and you really just want to get it cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the old-fashioned glass in there, give it a stir. And also, if you're not really that equipped to using a spoon, you actually can turn something over. You could use a knife. A chopstick works well. And you can just stir that back and forth. And you don't have to stir it for very long. Okay? And now all that flavor is getting, and then what's really amazing and really beautiful is I'm going to take a small little branch. Okay, so we'll take these beautiful branch of plum persimmons. So these are actually little baby persimmons. And that's my garnish for the old-fashioned. So what I do is I just kind of lay that on top, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And then so that is your Hachia persimmon sage old-fashioned with candy cap mushroom bitters and a little bit of almond liqueur with plum persimmons on top. I really hope you get a chance to experience this. It's just a really beautiful sip. It has a lot of flavor, and it's a great drink when if you're cooking or you're waiting for people to come over. It's kind of a good first drink of the evening. So cheers, and we're on to the next one. The second cocktail that we're doing today is a white guava and pomegranate drink, okay? Now both pomegranates is very fall, and guava is where you just fall that goes into the winter, usually until February. So what I love is something like guava is such a tropical flavor. You think there's no way that would be a winter thing, but because of the microclimates we have here and all of the weather being kind of perfect, it's the perfect thing. But it starts usually around September, October, and goes to about February. So what I did is, this is a white guava, and I infused it. Now the thing with the white guava is people think that the pink guava has all the flavor, but it's the white guava that does, and it's all coming, it's all coming from the skin. So what you do is you don't even have to cut it up. You take all of the guavas, right, and you just kind of put them in a jar. Same concept as always, 3/4 to a full, half all the way up. And then I fill this with vodka and let it sit. And you can actually see how yellow the liquid is there, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to shake this cocktail, and pomegranate juice does come you actually take the seeds from the pomegranate, you juice them. It does have a little bit more bitterness from it because you usually put all of the seeds in there. And also just a little thing you might not know is real grenadine actually comes from pomegranates. It doesn't come from cherries, and it's not from that plastic bottle. So you actually take the pomegranate juice and you mix it with sugar. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 ounces of the Guava vodka. So first we'll do fresh lime juice. So I just squeezed it fresh, and we'll do 3/4 of an ounce of that. And there's all different kinds of jiggers. This is a jigger that has 2 ounce on one side, and on the other side has 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, 1. So you just have to know which lines are for which. And again, when you make an agave syrup, what you're basically doing is you're taking like a nice organic agave nectar. See how thick that is? So what you have to be careful of is you can't just pour that into a jigger because it won't all dissolve. It will still be stuck in there and you won't be able to keep your drink consistent. So what you do is you literally just take 1 cup of the agave to 1 cup of water. You don't have to even heat it. You just stir it and it dissolves, and then you've got this. So now you've got an agave. So we'll do 3/4 of an ounce of that. And then you're going to do 1 ounce of fresh pomegranate juice. This is actually from Nicholas Family Farm up near Fresno. They have the most incredible juices. So we'll do 1 ounce of that. So one of the things that's great is, and especially for the holidays, it's not that we get extremely cold weather here, but it can get cool and at night and so forth, depending on where you are. I love taking any cocktail and heating it up and making it a warm cocktail. So this is something that obviously I would put ice in, right? Give it a really good shake. And then instead of straining this into a glass, I actually strain it into a little pot here. This is just a little pot that you use to make Greek coffee, right? And you actually serve it warm. So now you've got this, now remember, alcohol does have a lower boiling point than water and things like that. So what you're doing is you're just putting it on, it's unbelievable. You're just putting on the stove just to get that steam, and then all of a sudden it's warm. And now this is, so when you get this, if you order this from me, what's gonna happen is, it's not, you can choose to have it on its own, you can choose to have it cold, you can choose to have it on ice, but what I'm choosing and what I love is serving this warm. And I've got these beautiful violas that are around it. I'll probably put a couple more. Violas are an edible flower, just not really highly palatable. They don't have a lot of flavor. This is a guava infused vodka with fresh pomegranate juice sour. Cheers. Okay, now I'm going to show you the last cocktail that will be available for your holiday delivery here for Little Italy of Los Angeles. And how can we do Italy or Italian or Christmas without 2 things? White truffles and eggnog, okay? The white truffles are one of the most decadent, have the most incredible smell. They're also very expensive. So how do we kind of do this, right? We're gonna make an eggnog that's really, really simple to make, but the most important thing that I wanna teach you first, so I've actually black truffles from Burgundy and then the white truffles from Alba, right? We are going to take the white truffle and really, basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna maximize the flavor and the price of it. So I have this incredible grass-fed cream that I get at the Santa Monica Farmers Market. I think it's also available now in probably a lot of stores, specialty stores, but I always see it at the market. So what we're gonna do is, and actually for some reason, I just got these in yesterday. So what's great is, I'm gonna have these all ready for you. What I do is I literally, you don't have to take a whole lot because the smell is there, right? So we're gonna literally take a couple pieces here, right? And we're gonna put them into the cream, okay? And usually you let that sit for about 5 or 6 days, right? So we're gonna put that into the cream. Every day or so I like to kind of agitate a little bit, but we'll put that aside, we'll put that in the refrigerator, okay? So that's gonna sit, and then it's a really, really simple thing. We're gonna take a tin, okay? We actually put an egg in there, which is a whole egg. And then we're gonna take 2 ounces. So this is the cream that's already been infused with the truffles. Take 2 ounces of the heavy cream. Now listen, if you don't like truffles, if you have a problem with mushrooms, if you are allergic to them, whatever that is, this is still a very basic formula that you can follow for an eggnog. And then you can literally just do anything you want in the eggnog. You could if you wanted to infuse lavender in the cream, if you wanted to take the actual bourbon and put curry in it or seaweed in it. So, I know I like to use agave, but when we're talking about something like an eggnog here, let's use a honey syrup, okay? So this is actually a buckwheat honey. You can use any kind of rich honey. I like avocado honey, all of that. And it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So you're taking 3 cups of honey to 1 cup of water, heating it up and dissolving it. We're gonna do 1 ounce of the honey. So it's gonna just make this a little bit more richer too, right? One of the things I always love about honey too, besides just bees, is honey is one of those sugars that really man has never really been able to synthetically reproduce. And there's something about that. There's something about, like, you can only get that from bees, you know, and that's a huge thing for me, and I think it changes the flavor very much of this. And then we're going to do 2 ounces of the bourbon, okay? I'm going to just do straight bourbon for you here. So we'll do 2 ounces of that. Something to be called a bourbon, just so you know, has to have at least 51% corn in it, has to be aged for at least 2 years in a brand new American oak barrel, okay, charred barrel. All right, and then we're going to take the ice. So we'll put the ice in there, give it a really good shake. And we'll use all different kinds of glasses for this. And this is something, you know, if you really wanted to, what I love about this is a drink that you could freeze if you needed to. If you wanted to put it in plastic bottles and you needed to freeze it for a couple months, it would still stay fresh. And the alcohol really does help to preserve it. So even if you got this delivered to you, you'd probably be able to keep it for at least a week or so. So we'll give that a good shake. And we'll just give it a nice, ooh, look at that rich yolk color. And what I love about it, it's not, this is actually a great drink for people who might not even like eggnog. They think they don't like. It's not super thick. It's more of like, it's creamy, but it's still, it's thin. It's not, it's more of like a milkshake that's melted kind of flavor. And now the best part is taking the black truffles and the chocolat and putting that on top. So I'll do some black on top, which over the years I've really loved to love black truffles. They're really amazing. And then you gotta have some dark chocolate on there too. So this is what I call, this is a white truffle eggnog. Sometimes I call it the umami milkshake. This is perfect for a substitute for dessert or after dessert. Sometimes I'll have that and I'll have a little nip of white port afterwards. My name is Matthew Biancanello. Thank you so much for attending the master class for Little Italy of Los Angeles. Again, I am making all of these cocktails 50% off for all members of Little Italy Los Angeles. Thank you so much for being here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and enjoy. Oh, that is unbelievable. Cheers.